especially at this hour. And I'm telling you, like Jesus says, I've told you beforehand. I've told you beforehand. We know what to expect. And like I said, the worst part will come is because it'll come from Christians. Those are the ones that will break your heart because you expect them to know better, and they don't. And as I sent out that email today, I gave you guys Psalm 64 devotional on it in your email, and it's powerful. Um, let me show you something from that psalm, and these are things that people don't pick up on it. In Psalm 64, the reason why I say that Psalms are real time reality TV, liken it unto those shows that they put on. It's real time Bible. You can read many of the scriptures. It's historical, it's doctrinal, it's teaching. But here's something that comes down to where the soles of your feet hit the pavement of real life. Listen to what this says. Psalm 64, Psalm of David, verse 1. Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. And with reading that, Christians would need to realize that there's nothing new under the sun. David historically had the same problems that we have today. And the thing that he does is what every Christian does, is should bring everything to the Lord. And that's what Paul said when he goes to the armor and equipment of the Christian, the armor of God, the 6 pieces. And the 7th thing, which is kind of obscure, but it's there, is that praying always, always, and everything for the saints. And there's a phrase in a couple places where prayer is mentioned by Paul, talking about all prayer. I mean, it's for everything. And you'd be surprised that what God wants to hear you ask Him, whether it's things that you forgot what you came into the room for. You know, we prayed yesterday. She said, "Oh man, I came in here, I forgot." And I said, "Well, ask the Lord. I do all the time," and He tells me. Somehow it'll come to my mind, and I've been really counting faithfully, leaning hard, that when I can't recall a verse, that you've seen it in action, all of a sudden in 30 seconds it'll come to me. He's real, and so with that said, we're going to pray for in everything, in all prayer and thanksgiving. And then it says here, "Hear my voice, O God." Now, why would He say, "Hear my voice"? Well, there's sometimes when God won't hear your voice. One of the things where He says here that the Lord will despise your voice in Ecclesiastes, and this was a troubling one because I think we've all done this, is if you make a vow to God and you break it. And He says it's better not to vow than to vow and to break it, for the Lord has no pleasure in the voice of fools. You see what I'm saying? That verse is troubling. And you say, is there ever a way out of a vow? Yeah, there is. If you go to the law, it tells you that if a wife makes a vow, that her husband can override it. And guess what we are? We're the wife of Jesus Christ, right? So that's you're out. But nonetheless, you'll grow in the Lord, and you'll get to the place where you learn not to make promises. And that's why it says in James, "Let your yea be yea, and let your nay be nay. Don't swear by heaven or earth, because it's His throne, and the earth is His footstool." And there's another thing in there too. That's pretty also thing. It talks about don't take oaths. And don't take oaths. And there's a lot of Christians that I've been in court when I've been asked in jury duty, is that can't raise their hand and swear they're Christians because they believe sincerely what it says that I can't take an oath. You have to take my word as a Christian. That's pretty pretty serious, because
That gets me out of jury duty then.
exactly. Oh, well, yeah. Well, no, they'll take it anyways, because they'll take atheists now. But the 10 Commandments, I think it's the 4th one. It says, "No, take not the name of the Lord in vain." Take not the name of the Lord in vain. Or is that the 3rd one? Well, anyways, that is because you have the title of Christ on you, and so if you lie or do something wrong, you're taking His name in vain, and you're supposed to be honored. So when it says here, "Hear my voice," the Lord, David says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. But he's saying, "Lord, hear my voice." Watch the passion. Oh God, not just hear my voice, Lord. hear my voice, oh God, in my prayer. And he says, watch it, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Now, when you read that, if you're careless, you'll see that and think that David's asking for the Lord to preserve his life from his enemies. That's not what he's asking. Read it carefully. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Huge difference. And why would he ask to be have his life preserved from fear of the enemy? Because basically, fear is the antithesis of faith. And David was anointed. He knew that he was to be king of Israel, and he needed to trust in the Father that he would protect him. And yet, fear was the thing that he was asking God to preserve his life from, because fear can mess you up. Correct. And consequently, even in self-defense, they'll instruct you that basically when you find yourself in a situation of danger, the first thing to do is to keep calm and keep cool. Don't give in to the fear, because that's when you'll make mistakes, fatal mistakes. And so here the Christian will do the same thing. And in Psalm 64, the thing that I wrote out today was that the Bible says that be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary, the devil, walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And notice what it says, seeking, and then it says roaring, as a roaring lion. And if you understand the natural process of with lions and the animal kingdom, is that the mother lion or the king lion, the practice is that when they see prey, they would roar and instill fear into that prey, and it would run, and they would run right into the den of young lions to chew them alive. And see, the devil will do the same thing to us, and that's why David says, "Preserve my life from fear of the enemy." And I go on to talk about that fear is an enemy to faith, and we're to remember that we're called believers and not unbelievers. And remember the admonition of the verse where it says in Hebrews 11:6, "For without faith it is impossible to please God." Without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he's the rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Are you diligently seeking him? Are you diligently seeking him? And then it says, Paul says in Romans 14:23, "For whatsoever is not of faith is sin." And that's what I was trying to get across to this business with the signs and with the dreams and with the word of knowledge and with prophets speaking these words over you. It's not faith anymore. We're called to walk by faith. And Paul says, whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So everything that we do in our Christian life is by faith. Now, there are times God will speak clearly. He may need to. But by and large, I'm telling you, 99.999% of your Christian life is by faith. And you can't go by your feelings. And as I said before, that as I look back on my life, the things that I thought I was doing for the Lord were partially correct and partially right. But boy, I'll tell you what, he was doing things that I wasn't even seeing, and I didn't have a hand in it. So that's the way he works. And another thing about fear, in Proverbs 19:25, it says, "The fear of man bringeth a snare." The fear of man bringeth a snare. It's a trap. And he says there that, "But whoso putteth in his trust in the Lord shall be safe." So if you fear man, it'll cause you to do some things. It'll cause you not to speak up when you should speak up, cause you to compromise yourself. I'll do this because I don't want to get fired from my job. There's all kinds of things. The fear of man will bring a snare. And then also, people don't realize this. Those are one of the two things that put every person in hell. It says in Revelation 21:8, it says, "But the fearful and the unbelieving," and it goes on, "and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers," drug users, "and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire, which burneth with fire and brimstone," which is the second death. But he says, but the fearful and the unbelieving are going into the lake of fire. Well, the unbelieving is those, I don't believe that Jesus died for my sins. Oh, you're going, pal. And then there's others say, well, you know, I know I need to trust Jesus Christ, but I don't want to change my life because I don't know what my friends will think of me. I don't know what my family would do it, especially a Jew. You know, my family would disown me or bury me, have a funeral for me, and all that stuff. I'll miss out on my inheritance. You know, so it's right there. And so David says, deliver me from the fear of my enemies. Brothers and sisters, I mean, we're living in today where I've talked now, we'll keep repeating it. As I said, fear, perilous times, perilous minds. That's what we're living in today. You're watching it in the news every day. How would you like to be in walking down endlessly, driving maybe downtown, you and I, to Joe Patty's, and there's the crowd. And next thing you know, we're stuck in the midst of, 300 people trying to drive and get out and realize we can't back up. People behind us, and you're facing those protesters. There could be an instance of fear. Well, we have promises that God will deliver us. He will deliver us, and I believe that with my heart and soul. But look at how relative that these Psalms are. When you take on down here, look at the verse 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. The secret counsel of the wicked. These people, we've heard of the secret societies, the secret meetings. We've heard about the seventh floor in Washington, D.C., where all the stuff was done to try to take down Trump. The plan was fomented there. And it says, and from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. These people who are insurrectionists are workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Now, here again, we go back to what the Lord said in the prophetic Proverbs, where it says that there is a generation, and one of the four characteristics it says about this generation, it says here, there is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives. And basically, I look at that as just the words coming out of these people's mouths, the vitriol. They're like knives. They're like swords. That's Proverbs 30, verse 14. And that's what the psalmist David is writing about. It was back in his time too as well. Who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And, James has a lot to talk about the tongue. He said it's set on fire of hell. And that's one of the things that Christians need to really guard. I pray all the time, Lord, as the psalmist says, put a guard on my lips. Put a watch on it. Keep me in check. And I was teaching Elijah yesterday, some of the things that came out of his mouth is it says, a wise man pondereth his words before he speaks. It's very easy sometimes to get upset and get a knee slap reaction. And a lot of times that will get you in trouble. Amen. And so we're living in that generation. And then it says here, verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect suddenly. They do it secretly. Where does all this leaking come from? How did the New York Times get this article? How did you find out about this to me? And by the way, be firm on this one thing. If someone comes to you and tells you something about someone else, the first thing is you need to say, did you see this with yourself? Well, no, someone told me. Ask them who told you. And if they won't tell you, discount it. And it's terrible because, well, I don't want to be a rat. Rule 2? You have 2 witnesses, right? Yeah. And so like my mom used to don't believe none of what you hear, only half of what you see. And a lot of times things are not what they appear to be. So anyways, but they do it secretly. And then it says here, and it says here that they may shoot in secret at the perfect suddenly. So that means you, that means me. Do they shoot at him and fear not? And then it says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? And they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. You won't ever know them. I don't care how nice they are to you. I don't care if they shake your hand. You just, you cannot judge a book by its cover. And what you see here, you say, well, how does that apply today? You've heard of what they call opposition research. Opposition research. It was the dossier that was put together to use to file get the FISA on Trump to spy on him, and it was false. It was fake. It's called opposition research. It's what they try to find to dig the dirt on another candidate and bring it out. Correct.
One post you said when you were 12.
Oh yeah, and they'll crucify you. And that's why I tell you guys that just be careful what you post, man. My mom used to say, be careful of the words that you speak, for tomorrow you may eat them, and you usually do. So, but with that, it says here that verse 7, and here's the great part. It says, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. And he said, so they shall make their own tongue fall upon themselves. And all, it says here, that see them shall flee away. And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of God, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. So he that laughs last, laughs hardest. He that laughs last is basically what it says, because it says here, all the upright in heart shall what? Glory. Shall glory. Amen. And that's what it's saying. And basically, there won't be any need, I told you so, because you're going to see this guy or this person or this woman or this movement totally taken down.